Hi everyone, welcome to Success and Sales Hacks and Chats with your host Mike McDonald, and I have a very special guest today who's going to share with us about her journey and how she got to where she is today. And we have Jos Pritchard joining me. Jo, thanks for being a guest on the show.
Thanks for having me. Hello.
So Jo is the CEO and co-founder of Sparkle Drops, which he started after an 11-year journey with a marketing agency. I think it's promoting cheese, if I've got that right. So Jo, share with us a bit about yourself and how things were for you growing up.
Well, I've been raised by two entrepreneurs, so having my own business has always been the dream. I ran my own marketing agency for 11 years, doing events and shows, largely for a cheese producer. Took me all over the country and got a lot of experience in consumer events. But when that naturally came to an end, I sort of found myself wanting my own baby, my own project to look after, but also something that fitted well with my family life. So I had the idea for Sparkle Drops. We were away on holiday, and I'm a big fan of prosecco. We were drinking prosecco in the sunset, and I was missing cassis. I love putting cassis in my drinks, and I was saying, that if only there was something we could have brought with us. You don't want to carry a bottle of cassis around with you. No. But I also had sparkly lip gloss on, and that was on the glass, and I said, oh, that looks so pretty. You could just see the sparkle in the drink where it had come off the lip gloss, and that was really the start of the idea. I think there's something about being on holiday that your aspirations and the desire to get that work-life balance right, kind of, it's amplified. And it started a lot of evening conversations with me and my husband, just, thinking of ideas. And once we were back in the UK, I just started down this road, very steep learning curve, but here I am, sort of just coming up to a year later from launching Sparkle Drops.
Oh, awesome. So it seems like the big stretch for you, the big move for you came about when you wanted the work-life balance. So share a little bit in terms of what it was like before you hit that point where it was like, okay, things need to change now. So what was it like at the marketing agency?
Clients have a certain expectation for when they can get hold of you, and the hours that they need you to be available for, and that isn't always, it doesn't always fit in with children, and if they're ill or school runs and all these sorts of things, that it was leaving me frazzled because I felt torn in so many different directions, that I was finding myself kind of not doing any one job very well, kind of just dipping in and out of all these various responsibilities. So to have something that I called the shots on, and I set the timetable and the deadlines, really suited me to be able to properly fulfill my commitments to my family as well.
Was that something that was always in the back of your mind as well? Or was it something that was always there, or did it sort of hit you?
It's always been. I've heard of lots of Amazon sellers and companies. The idea of having a product really appealed to me, something that was mine and that I could promote, and I would benefit from its success. But it's all very well having that dream, but to actually have the product is quite tricky. So I'd always had it in the back of my mind that I would love to have a brand or a product that I would then promote.
I imagine there's a lot of people that have ideas. So it seems like ideas are not exactly few and far between as much as they used to be. A lot of people want to start their own business. A lot of people want to be in that position, with the work-life balance, even though most of the time, at least, that probably isn't something you achieve in the first couple of years. And it's almost like they go in with that idea, but then you've actually taken it and made it real. So what would you say was the thing that set yourself apart from idea to then making it happen?
It's a good point. I mean, and actually, I'm not sure my work-life balance is currently better because I've never worked so hard in my life. But I guess it's the end game, you know, that I'm headed. You know, the once it's properly established, then hopefully that work-life balance will be there. But I think I was lucky in the product that I chose or developed because I was able to trial the market at a fairly low risk. You know, I didn't have to invest in a lot of expensive machinery or lots of, I don't know, laboratory trials or anything. I was able to trial it in a fairly low-key way and make sure that there was a market for it. Now, further down the line with, you know, lots of printed product and labeling and bottles, there's a much bigger investment, but it didn't feel as scary as perhaps some products or you know, types of industry would be. It's just taking the plunge really and knowing that there is a desire and a market for your product.
Was that something that you did before you launched it? Was there always an idea in the back of your mind, okay, I need to find out if there's enough people for this? Or, you know, from your own experience at the holidays, you sort of say, well, at the very minimum, I'm doing this because I wanted to do it. It's something that I've always wanted to do. And, you know, you go through that experience of not being able to do those things. You go, right, well, I'll do it myself then. Kind of reminds me of Richard Branson's experience at airlines, which led him to start his own. Like he didn't get the service that he wanted, so he decided to start his own. I mean, was that the same sort of thing for yourself, or did you actually research it before you decided to dive in?
Well, I didn't see a product that ticked the box for me of, you know, of what I was trying to achieve. I could see an opportunity that wasn't being tapped into at all, and I sort of, because I had in my mind, oh, I'd love this sort of the idea of the Amazon marketplace or the product you're selling. I kind of worked the product back from a postal point of view, thinking of, you know, if I'm shipping out this product, it gives me a flexibility that as long as I've fulfilled the postage, I can fit it around life. So I structured it around a large letter format so that it could go with Royal Mail. And then I worked the product back to fit within those kind of postal limitations, really, which meant it was at a great price point. I spoke to a lot of people who said, oh, I could think of 10 people I would buy that for straight off, and kind of tapped into what they wanted the product to be, price point, variety, appearance, and yeah, really went from there using the kind of market research I had at my fingertips.
There could be a lot of people that might actually get a bit anxious, I guess, or nervous around asking people for feedback, particularly when it comes to like pricing things, because 9 times out of 10 they will say, well, as cheaply as possible, please. You know, that they might have that thought run through their heads and say, well, I probably wouldn't pay this much, and then you might even realize that, oh, it's not feasible because people won't pay the amount that, you know, in order to make a profit or to even just to break even, you've got to like charge something for it. So
yeah,
it's having, I guess it's having that level of belief or comfort around people so that you can have the honest price conversation rather than just having them turn around and say, well, just as cheap as you can do it.
I think my experience at the events and shows has shown me a lot about human psychology and what people perceive as a good price point or an affordable price point. I was very much wanting to target the gifting market, and from the shows I've done, £10 sits as a very good price point. You know, people see that as an expendable amount of money. And I tried to work it back. I know that people don't like paying for postage and packaging. It seems like dead money. So when we set up, it was very much that you paid your £10, you got your product, and it was posted to your door. And I think psychologically, it was a safer bet for the purchaser. It seemed an affordable amount for what they were getting.
What was your initial steps like straight after that? So when you realized that it was viable, and you mentioned that you don't have a lot of equipment when it comes to this, so what was your first steps when you decided to actually start and go, right, let's make this happen? What was the steps that you took?
We did a lot of experimentation with recipes, trying out different flavorings, and getting the texture right, the mouth feel, the sensation, but also I wanted it to be highly concentrated. If you think back to me being on holiday, I couldn't have taken 750 milliliters of whatever with me. The idea was that this would almost be pocket sized or handbag sized, and also the appeal of cosmetics. Particularly, we are targeting a female market, so the idea of, when a lot of the time when women see lipsticks or eyeshadows, they're packaged in a way that makes you want to look at them, touch them, use them. And that's very much how we designed our pipette bottle. There's something quite tactile about the application method, and also the gold foiling on the bottles. Everything about it was meant to have decadence and a kind of treat element to it. So that had to go through everything from the recipe, the ingredients, to the actual finished, how you use it.
So how did you get into the idea of trying to condense it down and make it, a bit more concentrated? Because you said you didn't want to actually try and carry big bottles around, but in order to do that, I would imagine at some point you then have to water it down, otherwise it might be too strong. I mean, I don't know. That's just the assumption I've sort of made with that. But what sort of things did you have to do to make that happen?
Well, we made sure that the flavouring we use, it's a really high quality natural flavouring. We didn't want a synthetic taste. The cassis and the elderflower liqueur and everything that I really like is made from a natural flavour, so that was really important to me. And then by testing a lot of pipette bottles and pump dispensers, and we went through so many different kind of vestibules to use, and it was when we came to this particular pipette glass bottle that we realized it delivered the right amount, it could be the right texture to work in the pipette, yet still mix freely with each of the drinks, and give the level of flavour and shimmer that we desired. So there were a lot of test runs and scrapped recipes, but we were finally at the one that worked best.
Yeah, I can imagine you had to go through quite a long process. I mean, one of the things that does come across, and it's a good thing really, is your attention to detail with it. So you come across at least very, very passionate about it, very, very wanting it to be right, wanting it to be right for you, wanting it to be a high standard. And I quite like how much attention that you bring into it. Is that something that you have with everything, or is this just something special for yourself?
I'd like to think that I apply that to everything I do, but with Sparkle Drops in particular, it's, if I'm the one standing promoting it at the events and shows, I need to believe in it. I can't sell something that I have reservations about. I need to know that it's something I would want to use, and therefore it's something I'm happy to recommend to someone else and to promote to someone else. So yeah, I don't think I would sleep well at night if I hadn't got it to the level I wanted it to be at before promoting it.
That definitely comes across, Joe. I mean, it seems like you definitely bring that to the front, at least when you're sort of describing how you do things, and you are describing it reasonably well, so people that are listening will be able to like picture the sort of things that you do. So would you be able to take us through the process of creating one of the drinks then?
As in, once you've got the final product and how to make it into your drink.
Yeah, go for it.
So the way we recommend using it is you have to shake the Sparkle Drops bottle very well. It's only a little 10 ml bottle, but you need to give it a really good shake to make sure that the shimmering part of it is incorporated. You then need a couple of squeezes of the pipette, and you put that into your glass first. Now, we recommend that because then when you add your drink, the drink does the mixing for you. Whereas if you added it afterwards, it is naturally heavier than the drink, so it would sink to the bottom and it would need to be stirred in. So there's a lovely transformation as you add your drink to the very small amount of Sparkle Drop in the bottom of the glass, and it totally transforms the drink. You get the aroma of the natural fruit flavors plus the shimmer and then the beautiful color that goes through the drink. We recommend it ideally with a fizzy drink because the effervescence helps to keep the shimmer suspended, but it is equally as good in things like martinis. It's just it would settle quicker in a still drink.
Yeah, that sort of makes sense as well, because obviously the carbonated side of it would kind of lift everything up, wouldn't it? Make it rise, I guess, a bit longer. So yeah, cool.
Yeah. And also as you drink the drink, each time you invert the glass up to your mouth, you are re-stirring it anyway. So it's always a swirling, shimmering kind of potion effect that you get.
Oh, cool. So, see, yeah, I mean, it's something that I imagine a lot of people that would go for, people that like that sort of thing, that they like to add something to their drinks, whether it be a taste. It's almost like when they add like syrups to coffees and things. It reminds me of that sort of thing.
Exactly, yeah. It's not to mask the taste of the drink you're having. It is purely to add to it, really, to complement it, and add a slight twist. The prevalence of the flavoured gins at the moment shows people's desire to do that sort of thing. We do a rhubarb in a rose gold colour, and it's so delicious in gin. A couple of squeezes and you've got a whole glass of really aromatic flavoured gin. It's beautiful.
Very good. All right. Well, one of the things that I would like to know, and I could be asking you something that you're like, well, we didn't have any of this, so it doesn't really matter. I have to move on to the next thing. But you mentioned that you had a lot of trial and error. Have you got any particular things that didn't go right? Any incidences, or I guess we can go funny if you want. So you can share something that was like funny, or something you didn't realize was the case, or maybe you had a taste of something and go, oh, that was horrible. So what have you got any particular mistakes that you went through, and what sort of things you do to change those?
We almost had a catastrophe in that I'd found some little pump dispenser bottles, and I think if particularly amongst women, if you've bought quite expensive face creams or face soaps in pump dispensers, they'll be very au fait with these little containers, and they would have worked perfectly as far as weight for postage and usability. They looked great, and I had a few samples and we tried them. They delivered exactly the right amount of product out of them, and I was all set to order 5,000 of them. And I think it was about a week in between the testing them and the ordering, and I was just about to place the order, and I went to just pump some of the pumps that already had some Sparkle Drops in, and the shimmer had completely jammed up the pump mechanism, meaning that nothing would come out of these pump dispensers, and we would have basically been posting out dispensers that would not dispense anything at all. And I was so close to having 5,000 of these delivered to my house all the way from China. That was quite a lucky escape there, because I'm not sure what I would have done with them.
So did you find out what the issue was then? I mean, did you find out what the cause was?
Well, I think the way the dispensers worked was on a vacuum pump mechanism, and
Yeah.
so the vacuum was reliant on the base of the pump rising up within the plastic, plastic canister, and unfortunately, just the shimmer texture stopped it from moving freely. And it's fine in a glass bottle, but in plastic, it just didn't work. So that only happened after it had settled and had been sat in the canister for a few days. So yeah, it was a lucky escape.
So what was the change then? What did you do to move forward with that?
Completely scrapped anything made of plastic, and also it felt nicer. I mean, I'd rather not be adding to the plastic in the world as much as much as I can. So to go to glass, which is recyclable, it felt like a good change, and it also helps to add to the feel of a higher quality product. It feels the perceived value is higher.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, there are certain people that I've spoken to that would like to reduce plastic and all those sort of things. So I guess it's nice for you to feel a bit better in yourself that you're able to contribute to that as well as deliver something that's of a higher value. So yeah, I quite like that. Is there anything that you weren't sure if it would work, but then it did? So we're looking for something that maybe you weren't sure if it would work. Maybe fear of failure came in. Maybe you started to talk yourself out of something, like, oh, it'll never work, or whatever. All those sorts of voices start coming into your head at that point, I would imagine. Have you ever had something like that and then it's worked out better than you thought it would?
I guess the whole project was a bit like that. It was so out of my comfort zone and new to me to be, a product manufacturer, developer. It's everything has been a lot of sleepless nights while I sort of toy with the whole, it's going to go really well. Oh no, what if it's a disaster? It's very hard to not have that when you're doing something so new.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we've done some flavors perhaps that maybe haven't been as popular, but people's taste varies so much. And so we do a violet flavor, almost like Parma Violet's sweets from your childhood. And if I could have taken 5 people that I trialed them on and never made them again because they were so horrified by them. But Parma Violets is that kind of flavor. So I have another 20 people who would drip the drops straight onto their tongue. They love them that much. So you kind of have to not be too sensitive and accept that you can't please everyone. Just make sure that, harking back to the whole being happy with the product myself, as long as I know I've done everything I can to make it a very high quality product, then, you just have to believe in what you're doing.
Was that a belief that you had early on? Was it something that you've always had, or have you had to sort of consciously grow it and cultivate it and I guess train yourself to do those things, or has it always been innate inside yourself the whole time?
I like to think if I put my mind to something, I'll achieve it. I'm fairly stubborn, and I'm not afraid to work hard. So the amount of work I've put into this, I saw no reason for it not to be a success. I believed in the product, and like I said, the market research I did showed that there was a desire for the right product. So as long as I ticked the boxes for what people were looking for, I guess I've been pretty confident throughout. It's just, I think, nighttime. Let's think about nighttime, where any worry you have is amplified, and that's when I sit thinking, oh, is this right and is that right? But no, on the whole, I am a positive person.
Have you had any routines? Do you do any practices or any particular activities that help you cope with that, or do you sort of go to sleep with those voices and hope they're not there the next morning?
I write down a lot of things. Making lists helps a lot, and yeah, I guess I like to be active. So I find that if I have, physical exercise helps. It just reduces some of that stress and tension, and maybe lets you look at things in a more optimistic light, and maybe reflect on things in a better way.
All right, awesome. So before we get to the last couple of questions, Jo, if someone wants to find out a bit more about yourself, so you can mention websites and social media, all about Sparkle Drops if you want, now is your chance to share that. So how can people find out about what you've got going on?
Facebook is a great way. You'll also get to see what other people think of the products as well, which is always really nice. We are Sparkle Drops for gin and prosecco, I think, or prosecco and gin on Facebook. We are on Twitter and Instagram as Glow Sparkles, and we sell but via glowsparkles.co.uk, and you can also find us on eBay, and we are now with a distributor, so we will be popping up in garden centres and gift shops, hopefully near you.
That's awesome. Can't wait. I mean, you're based in the UK, and so am I. So I'll have to check out the local garden centre soon to see if you're in there.
Excellent. Go in and ask if they haven't got them.
I will. I'll have to petition for one. I'll go in and say, look, you need this in, right? It's good.
Pick at your local garden centres.
Yeah. I'll have to have words if they've not got it, because I always like to have very, very nice coloured and flavoured drinks. So they're missing out if they've not got that for sure.
Excellent.
All right, so we've got last couple of the questions, and the next to last question is, do you have any words of wisdom for someone that wants to, I guess, leave their job? Because that's essentially what you did. You left your job and you decided to go and tackle your own thing. Have you got any top 3 or 5 things that you would share so someone could learn from your experience?
Research is the biggest thing for me. I spent hours and hours, whether it was internet searching or speaking to people. You don't want to jump in with 2 feet to something that you haven't properly looked into, because it's not worth the stress to yourself. You need to know that whatever support you're putting behind something is time and money well spent. So that you can never do too much research, and I'm still researching all the time, even now, a year into it, just to make sure that we're on the right track and doing everything the way we should do. I guess enthusiasm is something that you've just got to believe in it, and through that enthusiasm and positivity, you will be better at doing it through behaving in that way. Success will come of your positivity.
All right, awesome. And the last question that I ask all my guests now, so we've had funny answers to serious answers, all the way to answers that have nothing to do with what we've spoken about. So the door can be wide open with this one, Jo. And the question is, what would you like the world to know about you that it doesn't already know?
Oh, that's a hard question. What would I like the world to know about me? That I am not changing the world, but I am definitely making it a little bit more sparkly.
Well put, Jo. Very, 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 very well put. All right. Well, thanks for being a guest on the show, Jo. I appreciate you carving out the time. For those of you that are new to the podcast, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you do that so you don't miss out of our future guests. And make sure you say hi to Jo, Twitter, Instagram, website, local garden centre. Jo, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you carving out the time, and I'm sure we'll keep in touch.
Thank you, Mike. I really appreciate it. All the best.